What is it that you think we can learn from our Nigerian brothers and sisters specifically?
Don't be comfortable in spaces. I think the biggest thing as Shayotina is South Africans. We're very comfortable in our own spaces. We need to get out of that comfort space and try to take over the world. That's how it's going to happen. That's how Amapiano happened. We were lucky that we've had the internet, about TikTok and whatnot. Now it's bigger outside than it is in the country. It's because there's more people out there.
Sicela ukubonga Now ushapela kumele ushayeleza bo. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode. Actually, I thought this is the second time I'm sitting down with him, but I'd forgotten that the last time we sat down was not the Hustler's Corner. It was actually the world record for the longest music radio show in the world. We set that record for one radio show that lasted for 9 days. He paid us a visit, graced us with his presence. Black Coffee was there. I want to thank everybody. There was like a lot of people that came through, man.
Miss Cosmo.
Miss Cosmo came. Root Boy Paul came. San El Musician, Simi. And actually on that day, Simi met Black Coffee for the first time, or Coffee met Simi for the first time. That was beautiful. And I just wanted to thank you for gracing us with your presence then. And I want to appreciate you for coming through.
Always a pleasure. Sbuda.
Good to see you, Tim.
Likewise. Can I please
no
do the proper intro?
With pleasure.
Because I am on the Hustler's Corner. Sibonga
guys.
Yes, a city. Didn't want you to do that for a while. Sihlala la ngecoke manje sihamba nemufa.
That's what enjoy.
So much it's more fire.
Enjoy. You're looking good, my brother.
Thank you very much, Sbuda. Thank you very much. Sisa graced with water where we stay. So sawazi kudlula nje manzi sibona uSbuda sithi
load shedding.
Bese basicimela.
But at least amanzi asesekhona.
Manje at least one generator, so I was able to run here, you know. I wanted to wear another t-shirt, but I didn't have an iron.
No, mina ngifuna ukubonga ifamily ekuphathe ukuthi ube muhle kanje because jobulawo irepresentation yedlalo uphuma kulo
100%.
Sicela ukubonga mama lapha endlini. I know nenza umsebenzi omuhle. Uyaglowa lo bhuti nimphethe kahle.
Nama smile.
Because the last time you came with firstborn yakho.
Yeah. Ulindo kuhle.
I was very impressed ukuthi uvaya nayo.
Yeah. No, it's important, my brother. It's important ukuthi inqo zethu sizigabulise. La sikhona ukuthi sibafundise khona kwasendlini, okwasestradini, okwasencwadini. We always need to do that.
Amapiano has become such a big global genre. Little was I aware how big it had become up until I went to the US last year. And I realized ukuthi Afrobeat is so big. Yes, obviously hip-hop is an American music culture.
Sure.
It's big, but Afrobeat is so big.
It's massive.
That now Amapiano is literally coming, and it gives you joy when you're in a country like the US to be hearing Afrobeats ngapha nangapha. And also to hearing piano ngapha nangapha. It's like, wow, African music is finally experiencing what the late great Ndate Masigela, may so rest in peace, always yearned for, always what they prayed for. Abo Mama Abigail Kubega, Abo Time, Abo Kaifa Simenya, may her soul rest in peace, Abo Mama Miriam Makeba. It's like, are we even aware what we are experiencing? Are you aware that it's now global?
I'm aware because look, I've seen my music being played by people in China, you know, people in the UK, US, wherever, you know. So that gives you an idea. And I always go to the analytics and check with, okay, you know. But besides that, like you mentioned about Afrobeat, you know, Afrobeat, I think lay the foundation enkulu blind for African music to be so big throughout the world, you know. And you can see with basically ipiano kuba ngathi ipepe because we Afrobeat, you know, Afrobeat is like the mother and the kid now is the piano now entering the world, which is beautiful to see, man, you know.
And I think we must thank our Nigerian brothers and sisters.
100%.
And not only Nigeria, because I do know Afrobeat is all of our genre in the continent,
Yeah.
but it was birthed in Nigeria.
Sure.
And you can't talk about Afrobeats if you don't speak about the likes of Abofela and them, you know,
Yes.
who played a huge role in globalizing
Sure.
these African music genres.
Sure. So even there, there was a YouTube program I watched. I think no, it's a documentary on Netflix or the other thingy about Afrobeats. La bakhablisa khona, and then they take you from like 2003 on how these guys came with it, you know, on how they were pushing movements, because you know futhi our African brothers, they move around a lot, you know. So uthola ukuthi kunekasile Niger, like Joba, like asihlale esikhali ukuthi hey, there's a group of Nigerians in a certain area. So they do that throughout the globe. It's not a South African or African problem. They do that throughout the globe, and throughout those small movements, that's how they plug their sound. That's how they plug their culture, you know, because it's not only just the music, it's a lot of things that now are acceptable, or African birthed concepts or cultures that now are acceptable throughout the world because of the help of Amachita that move around like that.
And I totally agree with you. I'm sure you probably even missaid it there, because you have to fix it. Sometimes people take these clips and they say, Big Sky said it's a problem. It's not an African problem.
Sure.
It's a blessing.
It's a blessing.
You know, I spoke to one time in New York as I was there, who sells Nigerian food. He opens 24 hours. The store is always packed. You go 3 a.m. and you know how New York is.
Sure.
You go 3 a.m. it's packed. You go like in the morning it's packed. You go afternoon it's packed. Evening I'm like, are you using something called Oza or Rambo Zobuya? What is that? Just a joke. But I'm like, why is your store always packed? The first thing he said to me, says, because I sell Nigerian, which is African food. And for some reason, subconsciously, even though we don't speak to one another, it's not like we've got one WhatsApp group. People know where to find Nigerian food in this area of New York. And number two, he says to me, most of the clients that you will see in my store are Uber drivers and Uber Eats, and people are just driving yellow cabs here in New York. So those people operate 24/7. And then I said to him, I see you're selling energy drinks there, and a lot of the things that you have here are actually African. Would you be willing to sell an African energy drink here if I were to bring it to you? We own one in South Africa. When I was still trying to explain that pitch, and it was like, did you say African? Say no more. Bring it over. We'll sell it as soon as today.
Sure.
For me, then it gave me an understanding of, wow, our brothers and sisters from Nigeria, wherever they go all over the world, they're not only just there for themselves. They're maybe the wrong word to use is to recolonize, but I like the fact that they're planting seeds of our culture wherever they go.
True.
And maybe, which brings me to this question to you. What is it that you think we can learn from our Nigerian brothers and sisters specifically?
Don't be comfortable in spaces. I think the biggest thing as is South Africans, we're very comfortable in our own spaces. For an example, intane khulele eKasi Soweto, mongaqala uthi kuye, dude, go live in Mpumalanga. Mpumalanga is still in South Africa. It's not that far. It's a problem because you feel like you go into an unfamiliar environment. Maybe it's boring there. What will I do there? And whatnot, you know. In the adverse, the Nigerian brothers aren't afraid to go to those discomforts and create comforts out of them. You know, so I think that's the biggest thing that we can learn. I mean, going back to when you said when I said the problem is because we view it as a problem because they are making moves. It's like how colonization happened. Those people moved from Europe and came here because they were uncomfortable where they were, right? And then they made life from what we didn't see as something we can make life or economy or value of, you know. So we need to learn now we need to get out of our comfort situations, which are not really comfortable, but we need to get out of that comfort space and try to take over the world. That's how it's going to happen. That's how Amapiano happened. We were lucky that we had the internet, about TikTok and whatnot. Now it's bigger outside than it is in the country. It's because there's more people out there.
What would you like to say to a South African who doesn't travel, who's never left the country, who says, Skatela Amapiano, piano will color the whole day? What would you like to say to that person?
My man, my biggest problem with us is that we are our worst nightmares. You know, how many people used to ridicule you with more fire? You understand? Yo, every day is more fire. But no one says, yo, every day cook a TV. You understand? So, I think if we can just get over, I don't know if I should call it a stigma or
self-hate, right?
Self-hate is in there, you know. Once we get over that, we then realize how big and beautiful we are as a people. Forget the music, forget everything else, you know. But just as a people, then we get to realize that. Then we use that as our strength, because we are able to create. Amapiano is a sound that is you won't hear anywhere else but here. Then why is it us that end up hating it again when everybody else is embracing it? It makes no sense.
And I totally agree with you.
It makes absolute no sense.
Our cry now is even locally. We are saying, there's too much American content on TV and whatever. But there was a person like Claudi who came and said, I'm going to implement this policy of 90% South African content on our TVs and radios throughout. It's a policy for the SABC. I'm implementing it. Guess who fought him? Us again.
Us. I guess some of the SAPC stations they start playing the international stuff. You understand?
Yeah.
Where that implementation, regardless of the back end story, which what happened at the SAPC or whatever, but that was empowering to our country. Because if our artists make more money from their content being played, that is called a ripple effect. One artist probably has a family of 5 people, right? Now, if all of those people are able to make money, they're able to fund their families, their kids are able to go to school, those kids now become bigger people in life or whatever. You understand the ripple effect thereof. Manje futhi thina sifuna ukuyicima because ngifuna ukumamela amabhalati mina Sunday.
Yeah. And even the hospitality industry, hotels,
everything grows.
It would have been it would have changed generations and generations to come.
I mean, for just by you being a DJ Smooth, a brand, right? It was mainly through the music and say radio, right? How many people have benefited from that thing alone?
Yes.
From that brand alone. Not Jay-Z, not and look, we love those people. They inspire us, etc., whatever. But there's no direct impact to our people from supporting those people. But now if we are able to then regeneration, something now you plant or wherever, we keep it moving. We keep it moving. And once we start wiring our heads like that, as soon as we start wiring our heads to think like that, then I think, Joe, like a lot of things that we go through as a country, zizo pale.
What does Amapiano come from?
Yo, Josiah the other time, Lelina.
I want to hear it from you. Because Mina, so we all have got different answers.
Yeah.
Mina, obviously, I'm going to, name certain names. And and if you ask somebody from Epitor, they'll give you their own answer. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Or if you ask other people from different generations, they've got their own answers. And I love the fact that we are speaking about it on the internet, because now you've got the whole world that is watching us.
Sure.
And the more South African content we have, the more they're drawn into our country. A lot of them, the more they're drawn to South African content through Amapiano. Just as this music, where is it coming from?
Yeah,
Others, you even see them on our podcast. They're not from America. But they are brought to our platform because of this South African content.
Yes.
And there are comments there. have a lot to do with. They explain a lot of them how they bumped into these videos, because these videos are on the internet, you know. So every time when they watch content like this, they need to know from the source, what are the people that stay there in South Africa? What are they saying? Where does this thing come from?
Okay. So I think, like I said, Elon, what's the Nigerian thing?
Afrobeats, yeah.
Afrobeats is like a mother carrying Amapiano. So
globally,
yeah. In the hoods of South Africa, Kwaito is our foundation, right?
So Kwaito is the genre before Amapiano.
Is the genre before Amapiano? Is the genre before Iqom? Is the genre before? What was there before Iqom?
Yeah.
There was
house, Afropop.
Yeah, so there's always a certain transition, right? So in terms of how Amapiano started, personally, I know Abu MFR, Abu Gaba. Those are the people that sort of started what we define as Amapiano now. But a little bit before that, there were Abu Nastinev, there were Abu even Machitala was Limpopo, Abu Banman Africa, yeah. So Brazo Africa, they were doing it tribal with trumpets and stuff, right? Then there was a distinct sound that had a lot of keys, which was a little bit slower than what we were listening to, because at the time we were doing a lot of 125 BPM. Then Amachita entered with like a 118, and the sound had a lot of keys. So that's why for me, I think if we say we pinpointed, in my books anyway, I'd say Abu MFR, Abu Kaaba, Mtuda, and then it's fused also because there was also a movement, Yangale Pitori, Pakadi, which we hear a lot now, you know. So during that time, that's where this sound now that we define as Amapiano was starting and getting redefined.
And what inspired it? Just like at the beginning of the introduction of this interview, I spoke a little bit about Afrobeats, and I went all the way back to the archives, and I mentioned a very important name in the Afrobeats genre, which is Fela. Let's go back now with Amapiano.
With Amapiano, definitely the inspiration is Kwaito, that we can't get away from, you know. It's Kwaito, a little bit of Abu Piknaz, because when you listen to a lot of Amapiano, there's those samples, Zabo Mampincha, may his soul rest in peace, that are just like a hey, you know, just that little sample. So you can see it's been built by progression. And now if you listen a lot of music now, it's either the melody is taken from a Kwaito song, or even the full song is taken from a Kwaito song, you know. So you can see the parent goes way back there. And then in the middle, we have uncle and aunts and whatever that help to build the genre.
And I like the fact that when I was growing up, Kwaito was known to be like a one-liner, hooks and gimmicks type of music. And the elder generation would criticize.
Yes.
Like even now, you find an older generation will criticize Amapiano, yes. Right? Because I believe every generation has to write their own history. And I love the generation now because they're writing their own history. At the time, Nasakula Tina, I used to listen to our LM Jam.
Yes.
I used to listen to Speakir, especially Ngai.
Sure.
I used to listen to Mdu a lot. I used to listen to Abu Vibe Lezinto.
Yes.
And as much as
Mama
it was...
Mzalele.
Yeah. So
I'm that generation.
Yeah,
I'm just within the new generation as well now.
But it's beautiful because you're evolving nicely.
Yes. No. I know. Like literally all of those things that you are talking about, dude. I had cassettes as well in June. I'm a 16, I'm a 90. When YFM started, 2, 4, 5, empty cassette, 245 rand. The whole you know, so we are from that generation. We know that we've experienced it, Joel. Utepa ukabzele redweni akutshela ukuthi angitepa, you know, akhulume phezulu ngoma oyithanda yo ngamabonga. You know, so we are from all of that. So I think what you were going towards is how Kwaito was sort of, because mukuma about LM Jam.
Yeah.
That's the foundation.
The musical Kwaito.
That's the foundation of how the Kwaito came in. And the Kwaito was always musical, just like how piano is musical. But most of the time, even Afro, if you remember, Afro started with just beats. It was just beats, amachita shama beats, you know. Most genres start like that. That's how they become the it's a strategy, it's just music. You know, Kalama beat, people fall in love with it. Then we start creating music of it, putting vocals on. The first batch of vocals obviously will not be great, right? And then it progresses, it grows. The Kwaito story, I'm a one-liner, Gatuana is cursing, what. It's the same thing that happened with piano. How it started, a lot of grown people were like, there's a lot of music I don't play even. I'm like, hey, you know?
Yeah.
And then it grows, then you start maybe like even more musical artists find comfort in it, or they start trusting the genre with, oh, actually, it is music. Then evolve, it moves, it grows, it matures, it becomes this beautiful music that we're listening to now. By the time I'm in Kwaito crew, and you listen to some of the stuff Zaseties, it's very musical music, you know, which progressed to other genres, Zalabo, Afro-pop and whatnot, you know. That's, for me, that's how it goes. And going to Indabewiti, the elder generation will always frown on new things, right? You have to disrupt in order to have impact.
Oh, that's a beautiful statement. Say that again.
You have to disrupt in order to have impact. You know, I mean, when you guys started with the whole Mzega thing, people thought that's the craziest thing on the world. You understand? I'm a Khotmanwet at the time. This is not even music. This wada. But what did that do? Because no one can dictate. Only the people's ear is the one that says, I know, we are vibing with this thing.
Can anyone gatekeep Amapiano?
Right now, I don't think so. Look, you might be gatekept at certain stations, like, you know, but now the genre doesn't really play at that platform. Right now, you can just find, I mean, look at, for an example, Abo Jazzy Q. Before he even releases, that song is huge on TikTok. Because these kids take a clip of it, they play, they do dance moves, what, and it's gone. So by the time, even if you are a gatekeeper, right? Let's say Sbu is a gatekeeper. If you are a gatekeeper, your podcast, but my music is playing on TikTok, whether you like it or not, then somebody else is going to take it on TikTok, go on Instagram, from Instagram, it's trending on Twitter, it's on Facebook. Already I've got a chunk of people wanting that song. By the time the song drops, sent there. Makava was complaining the other day, and I'm gatekeeper, is not playing. But his song was big regardless. You know, he might not, maybe he wanted the radio spins and whatnot. But it doesn't really need.
Radio will catch up.
It'll catch up.
Jerusalem was never played on Metro in the beginning.
It will catch up.
Metro had to catch up.
Yes, it will catch up.
Even Tita Petin, it was never played on any radio station. Radio had to catch up. But radio had to force the composers to go do a radio version.
Clean edits. Yeah. Yes, you know. So once the thing is that big, no one can say no, because ultimately the people that listen to radio will ask, "Aibo, there's this song, man, that we want," you know, and it'll eventually go on there and they'll play.
And for me, it's important to say that because I posted a social media clip this week, and I said it's impossible for MacGyver to gatekeep podcasting I don't agree with anyone who says that.
Yeah.
As much as I did not agree with MacGyver when he said Maporisa was gatekeeping Amapiano, because I feel any kid can get into a bedroom studio and register to the DSPs and put out their music and use social media to promote their music.
Sure.
Like, who's literally gatekeeping you? Even with podcasting, like, you can just put a camera. Israel, shout out to Israel.
Sure.
He just puts cameras, invites guests to share podcast. And there's a lot of people, manje,
Who watch it.
Limpopo podcast.
Sure.
There is khona abantu abashanje, ama mic, camera, rock.
I sponsor my phone.
Who can gatekeep that? And I
No,
think for me, I'm trying to deal with that mindset. They're like, how though? Guys, like, there is no big, huge door like that we open and we're like, it's like, it's a wrong mindset, because I kind of feel young people are they themselves gatekeeping themselves in their own mind, and
Sure.
they're not aware.
I think sometimes, like you're saying, we gatekeep ourselves within our minds. So the gatekeeping is not wanting to go through the process. And the process is key. You can't escape it. As big as the DJ Spoo brand is, there's shows there that have 100 views. Before you get to the 100,000 views or whatever, you have to go through the one view. MacGyver didn't wake up and become the biggest podcast in the continent, right? He started as a you know. So similarly with whatever that you are pushing, Joe, you know, when I reignited and rebranded and started pushing Big Sky as a solo act, there was a lot of resistance in terms of booking and whatnot. But I was like, man, ngizozenzela mina ama-gig, right? Started in the hood, zishayela ama-gig nyana, 10 people came, 20 people came, 50 people came, 100 people came. You understand? I was just building my own foundation. And it built so much so, if I learned a brand, so I ended up doing Abu Elka Stadium and what, just using the Big Sky brand alone. You know? So we have to also learn to go through the process. A lot of, unfortunately, intwana zethu know, zifuna, because they watch so Amafast consumes a phone in.
Yeah.
They expect everything to be that 30 seconds. But it can't be. Even the biggest TikTok people, they didn't start with the million views that they've got. You start small and then you build. I also had to learn that good consistency is key. Once you start pushing back because there's no views, there's no support, there's no what, no. Even Labanta Bahlila, by 5. If they keep saying to you, we like this man, keep giving them.
MacGyver ngaringa naye during lockdown. I said it on DJ Fresh's podcast that at some point I was not aware that actually, I don't like using words like about depression, but snapping out of it last year, I look back, I was like, actually, I'm not aware that it's very highly possible I was depressed. Going back to our conversation on McG at the time, he told me what he was going through mentally. And he told me about his new baby that was just born. And he told me his struggles. And it was not the first time Kulman, I was one of his first guests on his podcast. I had a conversation with him from the beginning when he was starting the podcast. The conversation that I had with him during the lockdown was he wanted to give up. McG was literally giving up. He was literally stopping this podcasting thing because he used to say, like, some guests, like, this thing is just not taking off. And it's almost raising, he push up. And look at him today. So for me, this conversation, where it's going is, it's very important for us to focus on reality. I like what you're saying. Before 1 million views, you start with 1 view. A lot of them, they don't believe that. They believe they are being blocked. They believe that I think we are so used to putting the blame on the next person, as opposed to learning from such stories and, personalizing them to say, wow, if McG almost gave up, we wouldn't have Podcast and Chill as is now. Imagine. He would have deprived us of this incredible show, you know? And it's extremely important thina as a magrotman ukuthi iqiniso mele silikhulume nasikuma mic.
Sure.
And the narrative nayigcwala out there about gatekeeping and all of those things. Nathi nasilobele sifakaza siyenza lo narrative ikhulu kuba sengathi iqiniso for intwana ezihlelekazi.
Sure.
Kanti mele intwana zazi ukuthi no, nathi ukuthi lapha sibe khona lapha esikhona sifaka isipani.
And you end up just gatekeeping yourself because you believe ukuthi leyo nto leyo ikhona. Because noma ikhona Joe, I mean futhi back in the day of when you guys were in your prime, there was a lot of it. But you were jumping those gates.
Because there was no internet for that time.
I understand. Lapa, you literally needed someone to plug something for you. But you were jumping those fences. You found means and all of those stuff, you know. And then going back to giving up. You know, my biggest song now, If I. Ne? Before the Ngoma Leo, I had started calling Amachita who I used to go to school with. Right? Now, obviously, at the time, there are managers and directors and plans and whatnot, you know.
Yeah.
I started making those calls. Every day, I think it's time I use that diploma engineering, you know. I don't know, okay, I send this CV, what, because I was at that low point of no. No, I tried. You know, I tried. And just that one moment during that time where I was literally on the floor, right? Spiritually, ngasa believe in eggs with that one thing turned everything around. So imagine had I pulled back or given up and whatnot, I'd still have this thing eating me up. I could have done that, man. You know? So I think just to maybe close off this part of the section is Amachita need to fight, Joe. You all constantly need to fight for what you want for. You know, you constantly need to fight, you constantly need to make means. Fine, we are push and the show you know, so do even times 10 for your dreams.
Yeah. The decision of going solo and how difficult or easy was it? Because sometimes it's like I was good, was it a right or anything can happen.
But more especially in what we do, every decision is not the right one when you start assessing it.
Yeah.
Mokala plus engineering people too analytical. You think about everything that might go wrong and whatnot, you know. So at the time I think it was either that or I just go back and find work. But I wasn't ready to let it go, and I had to come up with a plan. And the plan was like, you know, just try this thing on your own, and let's see how far it goes.
I always say, Machiteni, we are one song away.
Yeah, 100%. Trust me, I know. I'm living testimony of that. Yeah, always that one song, it will come. And the one thing I think on my part that I'm not really happy about is it needs to find you ready. Right? It needs to find you ready emotionally. It needs to find you ready, so that when it comes, you believe it and you run with it properly.
I've seen people get that one song moment and it passes them by.
Yes.
By the time they wake up, it's gone.
Exactly. Yes.
We've been playing it for over a year because they were never ready, as you say.
Yes, you need to be ready.
And basically, to expand more on what he's saying that you need to be ready is stay ready. Show up. Pretend every song you're making in the studio, it's that song. So that when it does get here, the song is not more famous than you. We don't even know you. That even when the song is gone, you're going to have to struggle again the same way you used to before you had that song. Use this song as an opportunity out, Baba. When this song goes boom, itubula. Melubone ngathi hayi man. Ngathi into ezenzakalayo kaze zenzakale man. Uyakhona ukuyifila futhi plus esikhathini samanje kunama social media. Nama numbers, you can feel the energy ukuthi hayi man ngathi iyo le. And it even shows you nangama number ukuthi no yiyo le. Xhumani bafethu same time. Stop overthinking it. Stop over planning. Stop thinking what you're gonna do it in 6 months. You're gonna do sukuma that time, same time, koma fast, and make sure that everything you need to, Barking Kaskho, they say strike while the iron is hot. Young. And when you strike, you'll be doing those interviews. So at least you've got something ekuvuleli iminyango, ekukhulumelayo. You understand?
You bring something hot.
You understand?
Bring something hot. Once you bring something hot, I was about another gatekeeping.
Jay-Z speaks about the prime of your career and having to stretch this window as far as you can, but also embracing and understanding that all musicians, whether it's Michael Jackson, all of us, we've got that moment.
Yeah.
But then what do you do after that moment, moving ahead? What would be your advice, to younger musicians?
What you do with the moment? I think...
Because you're not going to be young or hot forever.
You're not going to be young or hot forever, and you're not going to have hits forever. I think sometimes, because a lot of guys come in with not a lot of knowledge, and I'm not just talking education, but other things to do besides this small thing, right? I think what's important is for us as a Mahrotman to impart other things that are outside business. I like the stuff that you do. You're always vocal about business, you're always vocal about things to do just outside of this thing. Because now when I shine you, our music, when I shine you, like you could be a multi-millionaire overnight or over a year, and it could be gone very, very quickly. Because it's also it's also a high expenditure environment. So I think a little bit of, I'll say education, just lack of a better term. With people around you. You look at a person like Upor. Upor ukeleze a lot from Oskir, and you can see it. If you see, I'm not friends with him or anything, but I can see from afar what I know. Untana is making moves like this and that and that and that and that, and you can see Iskela with his booyah. So it's always important also to surround yourself, because I always used to do that from the beginning. Which I learn from people, whether they are close or they are far. But okay, Lomchitalo, he was proper famous, making money and whatnot, but he's still not struggling and he's not famous. What did he do in between? Then once you find that, you not necessarily need to emulate or do exactly what they did, but you can recreate your own safety net, if we put it in that term. It's okay. Good ngokwenza ikar. Bethi ngithathele nyukulana ngivule something yekar. Bethi ngithathele nyukulana ngivule property business. Bethi ngithathele nyukulana yabona esalayo ke sozoyiblowa wenze yonke le idala lezimaro yazi ukuthi mengathiwa kuyabheda ngayini khona something nyana ezongiphushisa yabona, because that's where a lot of the depression and anxiety comes from within our industry. Because with our industry you always have to look good no matter how bad things are. Because if you look bad, you are not attractive. You don't want you. No one wants to touch you. No one wants to touch you. So you constantly need to look good. So now when you don't look good, you start staying at home. There's Valela, creative blog, and other people suffer other things through substances and whatnot. But if you try to create a comfortable life outside of your dream, or maybe have multiple sources of income, they preach that even with people that have 9-to-5s. So we also need to learn that and need to do it without shame. Because Oskiro was on Nakava the other day. I tell Baba, no matter what you are told, what's up 9-to-5?
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
What's up 9-to-5? Don't be afraid to go and open a small makunya business somewhere or whatever, Because at the end of the day, you know and a leyo nyukule uzoyidinga somehow.
We are going to
zakho, because once now seyitshayile and now you can't support,
the energy is gone. You can't give another stage anymore.
Energy is gone. maybe say the creativity is gone as well. Now you don't have hits anymore. But if you've got some sort of foundation or other eggs somewhere, you are able still to leverage off those.
Let's move on to the next one.
Sure.
Fatherhood as
Yeah.
an entertainer. How has it been for you?
Look, man, I think I've been blessed to have kids that understand, you know, and also just my own mentality, because for me, I've always been, it's just family first, and recently time, you know. I'm typically like the boring time or chicken disciplining, doing whatever things that fathers do at home. I'm that guy, and I've tried my level best not to mix Big Sky no Mncedisi, right? Because Mncedisi ngoni timer laralinda no yanda endlini, and that's that, you know. And then professionally, it's difficult because that thing never leaves you. Finally, we can create a hit song, yeah, in studio. But if I feel with the messaging of the song, man, how do I explain this to my kids? Right, and I think that's the other thing with growing up, you know, and doing,
There's just that voice.
yeah, and doing things so cruelty, so and whatnot. You're constantly thinking, okay, sharp. You know how you frown when your kid sings something?
Yeah. I mean, I'm Kenyan and
Yeah, but-
sister Petit.
Sure, like, hey.
When I put many words, my sister Petit, I be computer and I remember when train that time.
Yeah.
I never, but put a words
I
in
sharp, yeah. So now imagine it's your song.
Yeah.
And apparently you can't then go there and say, hey, don't sing that song like Kanjan, because I mean, it's your song, dude. Yeah, so it's things like those where I'm conscious about a lot of things or everything that I do. Not that everything I do is perfect, but I'm very conscious about everything that I do at home. It translates to my work as well.
If I'm Mazangik buys
I mean, if I'm in so not really.
you know, buys this and if
If I'm blind, sure. If I'm blind. I mean, I've seen kids that I've helped put on and stuff, and you know, and I don't take it personal because again the growth, you know, but fame is, you know, say that line, I got Jay-Z.
yeah.
Fame is the worst. It's what? It's the worst drug than heroin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's to those effects. It's addictive, right? Obviously, won't go into, especially imagine you coming from a background and grand and whatnot. Then all of a sudden, everyone, and I mean everyone across the world, loves you. Everyone is talking about you. Everyone is paying big bucks to come and see you and whatever. That thing will affect you. The same way soccer players get affected and whatnot, you know, because of a background. So, like I said, with me, I think I can't really say if I was younger how would I have behaved and whatnot, but I know now it didn't.
Did when I met him, you guys were together before the fame?
Before the big fame.
Yeah, because you've been hustling.
Yeah.
Actually, people sometimes you don't tell that story.
I've got a couple of levels of fame, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the big fame, yeah, I met him there, okay. And I think even if you can talk to her, she'll tell you, this one is still the same.
She understood, no? Because sometimes Abanyabo made them, I understand.
I think communication and also that we need to be honest of what we bring that makes them not understand. Right? I remember when I had that interview with you, a massive, and then wasn't was amuti manje bonga cabanga ukuthi lo muntu lona man mosha isikhathi and nalento ayenzeki and whatnot. So but it's that constant reaffirmation with ejo mamela sizoba grand, right? And the message siba grand I ukuthi siba grand sengiba grand nalo yana, you know. So it's it's a family dream. With okay, Mr. Sikrens, if 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then she sees it happening, then it at least validates her saying, yo, I need to deal with ABC. And I think it's business people go through the same thing, where you are building a business, and then if you have a partner that doesn't understand, some of them leave just before, or mess blow up, separation, what, you know. So look, man, I think honestly I've been blessed to have the partner that I have, to have the kids that I've got, because also our kids go through a whole lot of ridicule. You can imagine the time I like only share ingoma swim, and then I was on a hit or whatever.
Yeah, or time about ring up line,
now they have to deal with that.
Yeah,
you know, so that's why I get to in that music, especially if you've got a family, it becomes literally your family business. As much as you don't post about it, to talk about it, but it affects everything that you do back at the ranch.
Yeah, understand. New project?
New projects, yes. I'm actually now working on a new project. I'm gonna be doing a follow-up. I did a Rodman Groove EP the previous, not last year, other year. So I'm gonna do Rodman Groove EP 2, and then I'm gonna do an album maybe on September or so.
Okay. Inambu nazo mara so busy ngazo.
Yeah, it's got numbers busy ngazo, and then there's other projects that didn't make it to the previous stuff that we are busy improving and then putting some more meat on. And then once it's ready, we're gonna throw it out.
Usiyesa ringa earlier on ngokuthi piano lenza an or kanti. Any maybe batin shows you'd like to do or can't, because ba hungry for nina no ngukutshela for nina ntavi sometimes yazi ngoba you know nokuba like us wenze mina ngithori America ngana album and ngithena ngise state the way piano logrot ngakhona ngidlala house mina mara ngithena ngise state ngafostiwa audience wonke umuntu even nalabo abacavayo ukuthi ngidlala house bathi kimi sicela ukugayiti madala siyakubona uyazwakala ngithi cela ushaye piano
sure
washaya house uzosibhayisisa wena uzosibhayisisa wena self yabona and ngalalela ngashaya piano, and also not just for me I kind of felt ukuthi here is this thing that even the musicians we've all looked up to, our predecessors, it's always been a South African dream to have our music go global.
Sure.
I can't be on an international platform
you have to represent
when I've got a genre like piano blowing up all over the world and I'm not embracing it.
You have to, because now the impact that you did within that space is to amplify this culture, right? And Ilento, it goes back to the conversation that we had. We shouldn't frown upon our own, even if it's not typically what I play. You know, set fashions, always putting on a cappella with the popular piano songs and whatnot. Also, that is extension of the culture to this other,
that other audience.
You understand? So there's a whole lot of things that we can do to grow it. Speaking of me being abroad, I've done a tour in the UK, but this was before Amapiano and whatnot, you know. And of course, right now we're working with other guys that I know that side to do I call it a kushu tour.
Yeah.
To do a
from your other big song.
Sure, to do a kushu tour in the UK. And basically around Europe. So as soon as that is confirmed and stuff, yeah.
Okay, and then ubano spana na ege engomenzano, or whom we should expect a project in lezo alayo no rilas.
So konamanje in terms of producers, unamachita in spana na babu Fisol Music, Vilosol, Vilosol and Kipla Spin I worked with as well in my previous EP project. There's a new cat also called Africa the Soul. The Soul.
Yeah, Soul, sure.
So right now it's those guys in terms of production, vocalists, Novanto Vilagazi, Mshegele Zinto, there's a song we did with Brendan Praise, but we're gonna redo it now.
So what are we expecting? The rest of 223?
I think the rest of 223 is just gonna be music, gigs, of course, and I'm also focusing a lot on pushing my other side hustles, the businesses.
Why you never speak about them much?
Yeah, I think it's because in my nature and my character, what I'm putting out there is the Big Sky brand. So not umncedisi upusha into zakhe ngada and whatever, you know. But if you pick it, if you really listen, then you can pick it up in the chats. Which actually, there's more to the character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm very proud of you, Mfethu, from Lapes Puma Corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, to everything you're doing now. And I know Intwana Izipa might not understand Lapes Puma Corner. It's beautiful to see abantu abakhuzukile.
Sure.
To be doing their thing. And you are very content. And you are chilled in how you manage this fame thing, this success. And just being a family man means a lot.
Sure.
Because sometimes nase kugrandisa ikhohle family.
Yeah.
Sengifuna ukuvana slay queen. Ngiyamkhohle umedem ubekade at the time sishare clipper lokugcina the time in brown, you know, ngifuna ukuzithola sengile nabo sibanibani.
Sure.
You know. So I mean, I'm very
and it's
proud.
dangerous, and it's very, 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 and it's easy to do. I mean, you know, because, and especially writing later, it exposes you to the finest hands. You know, most etlapini udlala elinye ikope lishisa ukudlula wonke laphana and libheke wena baba libheke wena, you understand. But then you soon realize, look, even the next time there'll be another one, the next time there'll be another one, and the next time there'll be another one, and most of them are just chasing the hype, not really you. You know. So if you're lucky to find somebody who is just there for you, then try your best to make it solid.
Yeah, and bona bawuhlale bakhona.
Sure.
And baba top every year.
Sure.
So now I decide ukuzibambela nje umedo mo one focus kuPowe naye.
Yeah.
Uyazibhayiza.
And that's another thing. Once you have, I think, umuntu ozopowa naye, somebody that you will build with, you start looking at them differently. So it's not about their aesthetic and how sexy they look today or how ugly they look tomorrow and whatever. It's just about the dream that you guys share together and building towards. You know, so kugcina sokuba ngathi isister yakhe wabona la bathi hey nikhule naze nafana. I understand, because then they literally become your family. And you move and you grow with them and you build certain stuff, and you know, and then one day you sit back and you're like, yo, that's pushy, you know, because besides them being your wife, that's why if they can't be your partner, then they shouldn't be your wife. You know, I strongly believe in small things like those, you know, yeah, and then just grow from there.
Ngiyabonga ukuthi siringile vie usazobuya vie. I think leyo qala siringa tal engqondweni nami ngicabanga ukuthi ke sayishaya enye before.
Yeah.
So leyo qala so ngizokubuya na ubuya ke then songena kwamanye ama topic yabo.
No, we will.
Yeah, no, but ukano I just wanted to just focus on you.
Sure.
The next one na ubuya ke ngiyobe ngibuzise ezinye izinto ezifaya that some won't even have to do anything with music.
No problem, brother. I think I'm happy that I think probably one of the first podcasts I came to was this one, because mentally I'm on that path as well, you know. And with that being said, I actually want to give you your flowers. We speak from time to time and whatever, but I just want to tell you, into ichuna, you know, actually not into ichuna, but into daluzians, and they've impacted a whole lot of us, even nathi intanga zakho, you know, where they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but we are watching and we are learning new tricks. Good time and sure, this thing can be done by just watching people like you know, people who sacrifice everything. You opening this thing at the Metro FM Awards was a huge risk. You know, you lost a lot from that, but you had conviction, you know, and it teaches us, Leon Tologuts, in fact, we can't be led by fear, you know, and I think majority of us suffer from that, and we go about here and looking good and since we have been right now, it's bad. It's kahle. Yasidla mfethu kusaba, you know, you want to do something but like yo mfana mengaluza idlala. Yo mfana mengaluza icareer yami. Yo yabona. But thanks dog. Thank you for everything that you've done for us. Thank you for everything that you've done for the country. And keep at it, dog. Keep at it. I hope yonke into yenzayo uNkulunkulu ayibusise sibusiso. And dog angazi manje ukuthi ngisemphelela amagama. Yeah, but keep at it bro. Keep at it siyabonga.
And ngiyabonga umlayezo on camera intwana zethu nasezikhroti zizoyibukela le episode, you know.
Yeah. I appreciate you. Thank you. One love. No way.
Sure bafethu or goed le ka fela le mtho. Another day, but it was such a beautiful one. Thank you so much for watching this one. Go check out his platforms as well. Big Sky on all social media.
Yeah. Big Sky SA.
Ukhona umunye Big Sky or can't?
Yeah, ngathi khona ingane nginga. So I get booked at this place. So I think the graphics guy doesn't know me, but he just knows the name. How? Next thing I get to this gig, there's a huge poster. DJ Big Sky. I'm like, who is this guy?
Same thing, no fresh. Fresh or cash.
You know,
fresh SA.
That's when now I started using the at Big Sky SA. Because then when I started looking, I was like, oh, okay, there's this guy. You know?
Nati Hustlers Corner, Hustlers Corner or cash.
Sure.
So that's how Hustlers Corner SA. Yeah. Konje angazi bengirenga nobani athi as much as beka complain amara riding imncedile because I think bengikhuluma noLoyiso.
Yeah.
uLoyiso, the new Loyiso.
Yes. Like, double L.
Yeah, double L. So we're talking about how he had to put the double L.
Sure.
So bekakhuluma ngokuthi amanye ama streams okumele azokuya
ayangara sure ayangara ubhala ushaya u4 sesikhathi speaking of that, ngingafonela i-collection society. I won't mention the name. Hey, but DJ Big Sky ngithi sure. But you have songs, hey, what, hey, angizazi zonke lezo. Basiyim phela I'm like, what if unentaba emnandi? Oh, when we were young by DJ uvele wavuma
trend. I think it was before lockdown. I think balahlele boma 14 meter
if
I think ipupudle boma what, how much?
I think ishaye 9 clip.
But I think it was unfair, the punishment I told you.
Yes.
I still think so. Because now mncane, you know.
Oh, Joe, what do they expect her to do?
Yeah, I mean,
honestly.
Elizabeth Tech.
In first.
Ngathi Joe, abengase nesifasa angazi bephuma for mina la nyuko. Mina ngibane mina obviously ngis expectela boma 2-3 clip nyana ku account yami ngingcwese sigela, you know. Nangifika ku ATM nangithi yo khona boma clip couple. I mean iclip angayenza show. Azange ngisabuza boy. Ngathatha ibraza am straight ebank ngaphakathi sifuna ukuzo withdraw. Withdraw andoda ngayiphuphula. Mara now uyenza writing, they rectify it and then bayoyithatha back. Uzoba khafa track.
Yeah.
Luckily azange bangivulela ama case or anything.
Yeah, but Leah Young said it was painful. I think it because she got like a sentence of sort.
Yeah, that was very unfair.
That was harsh, man.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, guys. We love you. Samakhortman wenu intwana zethu, keep pushing, guys. We love you and go succeed, do your thing. And I hope this episode sort of taught you 1 or 2 things that you can start rearranging around your life or around your hustle so you can do them better. I always like it Amakhortman na wahlala ringa because I learn a lot. Now I watch all my bigger brothers as well. Amakhortman wami, ama sister wami, abo mama bethu nabakhuluma, we learn. And we don't just learn, we learn and go and apply. Tamatala.
Thank you, Matala. Thank you very much.
Any last words mhlambu grand for one?
Mfethu ivaliwe.
Bren,
Yeah,
ngiyabonga
vale.
madala shona.
Siyabonga njani.
See you guys on the next video.